You tuned in to the 7-Day Theory. Hard body, hard spirit.
Hendrix and whoever. In either case, the first music I heard was black music, rhythm and blues, rock blues, whatever you want to call it, Chuck, with white music paled by comparison. It was saccharine sweet. And, the teen, I was a teenager, can you hear me? Teenage. But, as soon as you started hearing it, and that is American idea and ideal of the people, for the people, by the people. The first words are, we the people. Mm-hmm. That's relevance to me. The fact that, for instance, Iron Maiden is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when they can sell out stadiums, and Grandmaster Flash is.
Right.
Ice Cube and I had a back and forth, and he's a bright guy, and I respect what he's done. It's not my music. I don't come from the ghetto. It doesn't speak my language. And I said in print many times, hip hop does not belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, nor does opera, symphony orchestras. How come the New York Philharmonic doesn't get the rock and roll? Because it's called the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But he shot back and said, no, it's the spirit of rock and roll. Okay, fine. So Ice Cube and Grandmaster Flash and all these guys are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I just want to know when Led Zeppelin's going to be in the Hip Hop Hall of Fame. Oh, you can't do that. Oh, really? No. Music has labels because it describes an approach. Mm-hmm. By and large, rap, hip hop, it is a spoken word art. And you put beats in back of it, and somebody comes up with a musical phrase, but it's verbal. There are some melodies, but by and large, it's a verbal thing. It's rhyming. And
Gene Simmons seems to say this every 3 years anyway. And I guess when the latest group of hip hop artists and rap music artists come in, he's going to issue his point. I mean, he's a rock god, but what he fails to realize is that it's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And everything else other than rock, when rock and roll splintered in the 60s, is the roll. And soul music, reggae, hip hop, which is rap music, because hip hop is a culture. So it embodies, sight, sound, story, and style. But music, the vocal on top of the music has already been determined. So that's the roll, that's the flow, that's the soul in it. Kiss are rock gods, but they don't have a lot of roll to them. I'm black, born in 1960. Being told that I don't belong doesn't even faze me. You know what I'm saying? I really relish the opportunity that I'm able to even be in the music business at all. He ain't never going to get off at that point. So, we're in a time where everybody's saying everything at the same time. Nobody's really listening. So Gene is going to probably scream out that probably for the rest of his life. And, he's entitled to his opinion, and he's dealt in into the music for so long that his opinion is probably going to be stuck to him. However, I've been, a musicologist of note. We gotta just watch the narratives, and we just gotta understand that people they're gonna stay with their beliefs, to the day they die. So don't try to change them. Just try to make sure you keep the facts in the narrative as much as possible. Ghetto don't mean black. Ghettos were, that came out of European term. I mean, a cluster of people who are kind of like the same tribe, all in the same area, but, you just got to have education so you won't be rattled by things that just come out of left field.
Right.
A lot of people are talking and not as many people are really listening as much as they should. So when you hear certain things that make no sense, why even waste the time to try to add to it and put layers on it?
What up, my people? You tuned into the 7-Day Theory. Hard body, hard spirit. Check this. Gene Simmons. We're going to break this down. Chuck D, he responded. He was a little nicer. I'm not going to be so nice. All right, he was respectful. All right, I'm not going to be so much like that. Gene Simmons. This is what I can't stand when what white people do, right? And Gene Simmons specifically, what he just did in that video. He's speaking on hip hop artists being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and he starts by giving it up to us, right? Giving it up to black people. How he said white music paled in comparison back then. The Chuck Berrys, the Little Richards, the people that created rock and roll, black people, mind you, that created rock and roll. Yes, we did that. We created damn near every genre of music, to be honest. So he starts by giving it up to us, but then in the same sentence, just a couple seconds later, he said, I'm not ghetto, so hip hop don't relate to me because I'm not from the ghetto. Like, what? Wait, what? What'd you say? Why did you feel the need to use the word ghetto for one reason? For first off, because you're trying to put a negative term on our music and on black people, right? You're dissing us, you're disrespecting us by saying that, because you're saying, oh, I'm not that, so I can never understand hip hop music. Dumbest shit I ever heard in my life. And I don't care what Gene Simmons did in rock and roll. Don't care. I care about the person and what they saying, and what he's saying is disrespectful. For one, if I'm not an Italian mobster and in the mafia, I can still understand and appreciate Italian mafia movie. I can watch The Godfather, understand it, get it, all that, relate to it, all that. Because at the end of the day, we're all humans. So yes, while people love to make these bold statements, I can't relate to any black people, I can't relate to people over here, or these people over here. Nigga, we are all human. I can relate to literally anybody on this earth because of that fact. I don't care if they're from, I don't care if they're from wherever they're from. Doesn't matter. Whatever race, creed, religion, I can relate to somebody on a simple fact that we're both human. There's going to be something that we relate on. Just being human, right? So to say that, I'm not from the ghetto, so I don't understand the music, blah, blah, blah. You ain't got to be from the ghetto. And you just admitted that black people created rock and roll. He just said it early, a couple seconds later. But you're a rock and roll artist. So you wasn't like the people that created rock and roll, but you're doing rock and roll. This is the thing I can't stand, when we create something and then it gets took over by another race and they act like they just the creators and they just own this genre of thing that they did not create. That's wild to me. Wild. And two, there are rap artists that did not grow up in the hood, didn't grow up in the ghetto, didn't grow up in the projects, right? There are rap hip hop artists working today, and that's worked in the past, that didn't even grow up in the hood, right? So to say that you're not ghetto and that you can't relate to that music is really just him being disrespectful, and probably mad at the fact that hip hop artists are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Because like Chuck D said, he says this every few years that somebody gets, this ain't the first time he said this. And Chuck D is definitely more knowledgeable than me on this. So he says rock and roll splintered in like the 50s or 60s. It went from rock to rock and roll. And the roll part is what Gene Simmons and Kiss lacks, right? Just like he said in the video, that's what they lack. They don't got much roll to. The roll is the soul, the reggae, the hip hop, the R&B ish to rock and roll, right? And then I never blinked twice about a hip hop artist being inducted to the Hall of Fame, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because there are elements of rock and roll in rap and hip hop music. That's why they're inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They don't have to be, these artists that are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame don't have to have purely just make rock and roll music, right? They can incorporate sounds and vibes from rock and roll into hip hop, and that's why they're inducted, right? Jay-Z did a whole album, it was only I think 6 tracks. He did a whole album with Linkin Park back in the early 2000s. Dope album. We know there's even today a lot, and even in the past, there's been so many rap artists that really grew up listening to more rock and roll than they did hip hop, but they're rap artists, right? I've heard Tekashi 6ix9ine say this. I've heard XXX, people like that, and more than that, a lot of people get their influences and their inspirations from rock and roll music, right? So rap and hip hop been incorporating rock and roll sounds, guitars, vibes, right? How they use their vocals. We've been putting that in hip hop. So to just act like hip hop is so far removed and not even in the same stratosphere as rock and roll is wild to me. And yes, we do know that in hip hop's creation, yes, it was created. It came from the urban environment, right? It was birthed from the hood, right, in New York. But it evolved from that, right? That's where it's created. We understand that, but you don't have to be from there to understand the music, like Gene Simmons is trying to say. If you look at most of these rap artists, if you look at their concerts and who's in the audience, it's mostly white people. It's a lot of white people. Besides maybe NBA YoungBoy, every other rap artist, damn near the majority of their fans at their concerts are white people, right? And a lot of them probably did not grow up in the hood, but they still love the music, they still rock with the music, they still relate to it, all that, right? So his point is completely, it don't make sense at all. His point, what he said, he brought it up because he's mad about us being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and you can tell that. Like that is if I heard a white person say, "Oh, I'm not ghetto," or use ghetto like in a native way, that's all I need to hear, and I can already discern how you pretty much feel about black people, right? Just by using certain words like that right there. Chuck D schooled him. Shout out to Chuck D. That was via TMZ. He did an interview with TMZ. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Membership's $1.99 a month. If you do sign up for the membership, I will shout your name out at the end of every video. Shout out to John Paul. Keep your head up and your eyes open. I'm out.
You're now listening to the 7 Day